So we're here on the Zero Empty Spaces podcast, episode 6, from our Hollywood location at beautiful downtown Hollywood, Florida, with resident artist Nerissa Balland, here at her 250 square foot, very, very comfortable studio. If you didn't know about Zero Empty Spaces, we started an initiative as arts advocates, community builders, creative problem solvers, creative entrepreneurs, to activate vacant commercial real estate on a month-to-month basis to make affordable artist studios at $2 per square foot. Provides countless benefits for the artists, having availability for a safe, affordable space to create outside of their home, while helping the community, giving them an opportunity to discover local and support local artists, while helping the real estate owner and the property management and the broker by activating their vacant space, helps with showing and vacancy management, countless benefits. For more information, you can log on to www.zeroemptyspaces.com. My name is Evan Snow. I'm one of the co-founders, but enough about us. We're here to find out about you. So tell us a little bit about yourself at a high level, please.
Okay, so, my name is Nerissa Balland, like Evan mentioned, and I am an artist, I am a creative coach, and I'm a 2-time cancer survivor and a mother of 2 boys. I live in the area, so I'm local, and what else could I say about myself?
Well, how did you initially get started in the arts?
So I've always been involved in the arts since I was a young child, but I would say interested in art and making art and being creative in different ways. But my education and my background is in the arts. So I have a master's degree from Pratt Institute, a Master of Fine Arts, and I studied digital design at the Denmark School, Denmark School of Design in Copenhagen. And so from undergrad, where I have a BA at University of Maryland, I moved to my master's, and then I actually, interestingly enough, graduated with my master's around the time of 9/11, which was really a terrible time for a young budding artist with a very expensive master's degree to enter the world for work. And so I found myself down a path to remain creative, but didn't go down the path of fine art and stayed within kind of graphic design world and marketing, branding, and advertising in New York City so that I could pay my bills. And I did that for 20 years. And I returned to the arts, fine arts, as a professional artist in 2018 after I had 2 bouts of cancer and reassessed my life and said, what do I want to do? What do I want my legacy to be? And what am I passionate about? So at that time, I was fortunate enough to gain some health and had the opportunity to pursue what my passion was as a full-time job.
Amazing. And your story in terms of the advertising and the creative dilemma between having to pay the bills and wanting to be creative is something Andrew, my partner, references quite often. He always says he's an artist, but he likes nice things, so he got into advertising and, still paints on the side, and he secretly has shown work in the art fair. But it's a struggle, and we're glad to see you pursuing your passions, and your creative outlets. Why don't you tell us a little bit about some of your work, and I am going to grab the camera and actually come and bring it over here, and I'll edit all this.
Sure.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your work and your process?
All right. So I'll start. In the last couple of years since I've returned to art, I've had multiple series. And something about me, I'm very interested in the notion and the concepts around love, spirituality, acceptance, and protection. Specifically as stories, but also as symbols and how they connect us. So there's a few series. One that's very important and cathartic to me as a cancer survivor, but also as a Jew by choice, someone that converted. I grew up in a Greek Orthodox family, and my background and heritage is Greek. I lived in an pretty much predominantly Jewish neighborhood, and I went to an all-girl Catholic school. So I was very well-rounded in terms of being around different types of cultures and religions. And I share that because in a moment when I take you through the series, you can see how that's intertwined in what I do. So when I returned to the art world as a fine artist, I started with a Hamsa series. This is a smaller one that I did this year in 2020. Most of them are quite large. And they all usually have the text of the pages that are ripped out from the Torah. And they talk about universal truths within each book. So very similar to like the Bible, the Old and New Testaments. There's stories in them. And those stories, I read them, and then I interpreted them in different ways and used symbols. This one particularly is called Miriam, and Miriam is definitely revered as someone that helped save the Jewish people in terms of moving the Israelites out. So Miriam was known to be a musical person, bright and vibrant, and in this sense I used the rainbow here. I used the evil eye for protection, which you usually find in a Hamsa. I used the fish of life as well, and I use a lot of materials. You'll notice in this one you don't see any text, any biblical text behind it. And the reason was I had a lot of backlash from taking pages and ripping them up. It was seen as defacing. Even though those pages were bought on Amazon in bulk. But so that was very good and cathartic for me. And that right there is actually ancient Aramaic. It is the Hebrew Torah. And those are the types of pages. So I stopped using them in English and started using them in ancient Aramaic, really because what fascinated me about the idea of a story is that you feel when you see words that you want to try to read it. And the use of text and the use of storybook pages in my work isn't meant to be read. It's just meant as part of my process and the foundation. I treat my canvases like bodies, almost like people. I always do the sides. I always wrap them around, and they go through multiple layers and phases. So there's a lot of layers and texture in them, and that's important to me. It's almost like I'm birthing the work when it's in this format. Although I do like to play with the same concepts in different types of work. So I've had a few different types of Hamsas, and then for Art Miami Week that I was in 2018, this was more Miami, and this sold more in terms of being more pop in a sense. So what I did, all my works have the Hamsa prayer in them. Again, not meant to be read by the viewer, but meant to be something that I usually say as a ritual when I begin the work and I end the work. And it's a beautiful prayer in my eyes, but I incorporate the text. So if it's a painting, it usually goes on the sides and it's written out. You can kind of see one in the corner over there that's kind of written out. But in my metallic prints, I used it as the background, since this isn't treated like a body and it's a framed print. But I did a series of these, and these are called soul selfies. So they are Hamsas with portraits with personalities. And this is Shira.
Was this what you were showing at the Frank when we met?
Yes, I had these, and then I had the large, my 3 by 4 feet Hamsas that are in the front of this building.
Right, I remember.
Yeah.
When we first met at the Frank Pembroke Pines, great place. Shout out to Tara and Nicole and the team.
That's kind of the Hamsa series. I took it in a couple different ways where the context was the same, but the media was different. So these are this is mixed media as well, and I used a lot of acetate here with markers, and they all have same stories behind them, but they are executed differently. And what I like about that is it's like people. A lot of us can come from similar backgrounds, stories, experiences, but we don't necessarily look the same. And so that's kind of where my interest in taking the same concept of things and trying them out with different materials, but in a similar process.
Amazing. I love the math in the background. I love the text in the background as well. As you can see, especially I'm glad you mentioned Aramaic. What else do we see here?
Well, in this one particularly?
Mm-hmm.
So this one, I'll share you the story with this. It's, unfortunately, it's not like really a bubblegum story like some of these look like, the metallic prints. This one really had to do with my second round of being cancer returning. I had found out that I was pregnant, which was shocking because my children are IVF that I have, and I wasn't supposed to have children, or I couldn't have children. So at the most toxic point in my life, I found out I was pregnant, whereas years before I was standing on my head drinking teas, trying all types of things to be able to have kids, and it wasn't working. And now, after having immunotherapies and chemotherapies, all of a sudden I'm pregnant and my cancer returned. So this was a very heavy battle for me to try to work through, because I had to terminate that pregnancy. I couldn't save my life and keep that life. So that's why you see the word sorry here. There is a fetus in the eyeball, and the eyelashes are hearts, and this is a sword. The mouth and the nose is a sword that goes through. So it's a little dark.
But this is using your creative outlet as a way to express your feelings and what you were going through.
Yeah, exactly. And the math behind it is really more about being scientific, being formulaic, and in the sense that there wasn't really another option. I had other people that I needed to be here for. So.
Amazing. Well, it's an amazing piece, and art, I like to say, is communication, it's history, it's storytelling, and it's therapy, and it's a way to get those feelings out. So kudos to you there. So you've got a lot of different things going on here in your creative space. What other ways are you turning your passion into your purpose?
So I am also a arts and health practitioner, as well as I hold a couple different certifications along the way in therapeutic art, neurolinguistics, and life coaching. I kind of combine them and use them as my toolkit in a number of ways to host art, I call it art and wellness classes for primarily adult women and children, where I help them to bounce back from physical and emotional adversity. My passion to give back is a lot in the cancer community. So I do a lot for volunteer work for cancer patients and work to help them through, to reduce stress in times during treatment or even in survivorship. A lot of people think that once you survive this disease that it's all over and you can put it behind you, but there's still a lot of PTSD that comes back along the way. So because art is so healing, and I say that medicine heals the body, but art can heal the spirit. It's like anything that you do in life, it's a practice. The difference here, when I work with people in that way, is it's not about the product. It's not about the end product, and it's not therapy in the sense that we don't dive into the meaning of it. It's really about the process and about calming the central nervous system down and having people reset and learn to become present. So, so in that, again, it's about the process, not the product.
Phenomenal.
And so I will say for that, if anyone is interested or needs that or knows of someone that needs that as an outlet, you can go to Art and Soul, so it's artandsoulmiami.com, or on Instagram it's just Art and Soul Miami. And if you go to my Instagram, Nerissa Balland Art, you can also link it through there.
Phenomenal. We need to circle back with my friend from Gilda's Club that wanted to do some of the stuff when the COVID stuff started.
Right, yeah.
We need to circle back with Vanessa That is that's a beautiful thing that you're able to provide. If it's any level of therapy, if it's any level of benefit for somebody through art, I mean, that's a phenomenal win. So I would encourage, if you know, we're all going through the COVID stuff. You can see we're wearing our masks. You know, it's affected all of our lives. Everybody deals with anxiety and adversity differently, but maybe you want to try a different outlet. You know, people are, I'm hearing a lot on NPR and WLRN, you know, people are trying therapy for the first time, and, you know, some people don't have people to speak to. Some people don't have art or life and color and vibrancy on their walls. Some people go home, go to work, rinse and repeat, and don't have any play or don't have any color and life in their life. So by being able to give somebody, if it's an hour, 5 minutes, a piece that they get the rest of their life, that's such a beautiful thing that you're able to do. So kudos to you for doing that. I strongly encourage you guys, if you haven't checked it out before, we'll link the website, we'll link the Instagram in the comments on the Facebook and on the YouTube, so you can check it out. What are some things that, now that you've had studios before, and you're with our friend Yuval over at YoSpace in Miami, what are some things that you've liked or that have come up from having a new space outside of your home to create it?
Well, so first of all, for me, interesting you ask that, because during the pandemic, I went through a transition from one space to then not wanting to have to pay for a lease that I couldn't go into a building.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't open. And I came home and I had to transform my living room with the support of my husband and my 3-year-old and my 5-year-old, who had to learn to stay away from my things, a little territorial over my products and my materials, and my 2 dogs. So it was a little crowded. I would say that, you know, for me and the type of work that I do, or for, you know, any artist that's working with mixed media, I like to be messy, which is really funny because in my personal life and my home is not like that. It is like OCD, over the top. My husband and I are equally OCD. Everything is in a spot, in a place, etc. But in my studio, it's like I'm a different person. I don't want to have to feel like I have to put something away all the time. I mean, I'm still relatively neat, but if I want to be messy and paint or glue or something drops, it's not the end of the world. And it's also a space for me. And so that's one thing in talking, you know, about the pandemic and so forth, not having that space that was specifically just mine. And I say that because anybody that's watching that knows where you play many different roles in your life and you spread yourself, and many different people may need you for different things, the time to come in somewhere that's just for you to do what you want to do is so special. And I probably couldn't appreciate it even more than I do now, since the last 5 months and being home for 12 weeks straight and not seeing the outside world. It was so important for me to get back into a studio space. You know, there's comfort at home, and
Sure.
I know people do find that.
Sure.
I think it also depends on what type of artist you are, how large. I like to work really big. I started working smaller because that sells more in terms of what space they have in their homes and shipping and all of that. But what I enjoy is enjoy bigger, messier, leave things out and have a space that I don't feel that I have to, you know, monitor other people walking through.
And also for very well put. I think we're all, you know, sick of being, you know, locked up. So we want to get out. And you're right. When somebody generally goes to work, they go to their office. You know, or if you're a creative or freelancer, maybe you go to a co-working space, right? So where do artists go? Artists go to their studios. Well, you know, unfortunately, there's just not, outside of really YoSpace Miami, Fountainhead, Bakehouse, you know, the Laundromat, and, you know, maybe 1 or 2 other spaces in Miami. There's really not
a lot.
That many spaces. Studio 18, if you were lucky enough to get in there in Pembroke Pines, there's not that many spaces, let alone for $2 a square foot, where you don't have to sign a long-term lease, which we're glad to do for artists to give them flexibility. It's a beautiful thing, so you don't have to worry about that long-term commitment and if you're not able to pay and stuff like that. So we're glad to support you, give you space to create an outside of your house here. Also, a space, if you are going to bring somebody in, not that you wouldn't want to bring a collector to your home, but it's different when you say, like, hey, come pick up the piece for my studio.
Yeah.
It's in downtown Hollywood on Hollywood Boulevard. If you are going to do art therapy or art classes, you have a space here. You could comfortably hold, 10 people here.
Move stuff around.
Yeah, just in your space alone, let alone the outside space. So we're so glad to have you. You definitely bring a level of joy and a level of peacefulness is not the right word, but I think in a time of negativity and a time of craziness and uncertainty, I think the Hams is a beautiful reminder. Using art the way you do is a beautiful reminder, and I just want to, can't give you enough kudos and props and credit for doing that. So thank you for creating and sharing this with the world.
Thank you.
I'm
really happy to be here. So.
Amen. My pleasure. You mentioned your social media website.
Website is so everything's really easy. Nerissa Balland art, NerissaBalland.art. So instead of a .com, it's .art.
Okay.
And that's the same. My handle's Nerissa Balland Art on Instagram, and all of my websites linked. So if you only remember one or link one, you'll find the other.
And we'll link it in the comments so you can see it. You can find Nerissa, Nixon, LaRue, Ivan Recalde, and our newest resident artist to join them, our very good friend, the Nivea Branho, at 2021 Hollywood Boulevard, beautiful downtown Hollywood, Florida. Every third Saturday night is the Downtown Hollywood Art Walk, which takes place from 5 to 11 p.m. We lead a free tour, myself, Evan Snow, co-founder of Zero Empty Spaces, and something called Choose 954, lead a free guided tour of the art walk starting at 7 p.m. It's traditionally been held physically. The last couple months we did it virtually, and this month with things uncertain, we're not going to do the art walk, but we will be resuming it. I'm glad to host a tour for free where we give you context about the importance of the arts and the art walk. We introduce the group to the local resident artists, not just Zero Empty Spaces, but Storefront Art Studios, El Mercado Studios, and other participants in the Downtown Hollywood Art District. And we get people to integrate and interact with the artists and communicate in ways that maybe, not everybody knows how to communicate or ask questions of artists. Myself, previously in the past included, would feel maybe a little ashamed of asking a question and then not having the propensity to buy the piece of art and feel like you're wasting the artist's time. That's not the case here. You can use me as a way to mediate that, and I introduce the artist, tee up the questions, and have the artists, explain their practice, explain their work. So every third Saturday night of the month at 7 p.m., there's a free tour of the studios of the Art Walk. At 6 p.m., there's a free tour of the Downtown Hollywood Mural Project, led by curator and project manager Jill Weisberg, who works with the CRA, the Community Redevelopment Agency. Downtown Hollywood has one of the largest collections of outdoor murals and public art anywhere in South Florida, aside from Wynwood, and it is the largest in Broward County. And we have some world-class murals and street art here from notable artists like the London Police, Ernesto Morange, Roan, to local artists like Stephanie Melissa, and most recently the Milagros Collective right on the corner of Dixie and Hollywood Boulevard. I believe we're up to 29 murals now. So you can find out more at floridashollywood.org or .com. It takes you the same place. We appreciate the support of the City of Hollywood, who helped make this initiative happen, of the Hollywood Community Redevelopment Agency, of everybody in Hollywood who's been super supportive of this space, of this location, of the artists. So any other questions, you can reach out to me. I'm Evan Snow at evansnow13 at choose954. Email info@zeroemptyspaces.com. Follow us on social media to see all the upcoming open houses. We have some new locations coming in Oakland Park, Pompano, Palm Beach Gardens, Soto, Orlando, south of downtown Orlando, and Lincoln Road coming after COVID clears. So, anything else you want the people to know?
I'd just say if you're interested in coming down to Zero Empty Spaces in Hollywood to talk more, learn more about art and health. It's all stuff I love, and I'm here weekdays. I'm here almost every day, Monday through Friday, business hours, so 9 to 3, and you can DM me. We could set up a time or an appointment.
Yes, appointments.
Right now.
If you feel more comfortable, which we would as well, you make an appointment. You can lock the door. Mask required and all that. So we appreciate your interest. Thank you for tuning in today and joining us. If you're a friend of hers, you're a friend of ours, and we will see you on the third Saturday night of the month in the future. If it's physically, if it's virtually, and keep supporting the arts. Thank you for your interest.
Thanks.